मैं वैसा केसेस भी लिया, अपने करोड़ों रुपए भी रिश्वत लेने के वास्ते आया, मैं नहीं सुना मगर अभी।
तुम भगवान हो, हम ब्रह्मास्मि याद रखो, ब्रह्मा तुम हो, रचनाकार तुम हो, खुदा खुद वर्ड से खुदा बनाया ना, एक डंडा ही तो लगा है।
कि बच्चा है वो औरत कैसी, लड़की कैसे गाना गाएगी, उसके भाव क्या होंगे, उस किस तरह से नाचेगी।
Rajyoga, it has to be a very disciplined approach. Till now I have not got myself.
Welcome back to a series on Ek Mulakat, which is produced at our Godlywood studio, which is situated at international headquarters of Brahma Kumaris at Abu Road, Rajasthan. As always, in this series also, we are going to meet an elite personality of our society, and today we have with us a strong woman, a successful woman from media industry. So let's welcome Miss Vandana Raj. Welcome to our studio. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Vandana Ben, can you please tell our viewers that what made you, inspire you to be into this career of media industry?
I'll be honest with you. There was no design from my end to get into media industry. I graduated in commerce, and I was very keen to do an MBA. And this was way back in 1991. Those days media was not a career option, and I was very fascinated with MBA because everybody in my family, all my friends and everybody is in the business space. So then, in between my graduation and further on, I got married, and my mother-in-law was very insistent that you may appear for all your MBA tests, but I would suggest you go into a creative line, because that is something that you could independently do things. And so I managed to, I did the course I did because I went through the written exam, I cleared it, and then the group interview, and then the personal interview. Side by side, I also was doing the process for getting into MBA. And I got into Development Communication Masters program at Gujarat University. And I had a choice of an MBA degree, which also I almost cleared at BK School of Management.
Okay.
But then I had to make a choice, and inspired by mom, I took up the creative line. To be honest, I did not know what I was getting into. My first day at CDC, I was really unsure that in those days awareness on media was very little. And I just went with the flow, and that's how it happened. But today there's a lot of people know about media. This was way back in 1991 when media was not the career option. Only in the metros it was a career option, not in smaller cities. And Ahmedabad then was quite a small town. I mean, compared to Mumbai and Delhi, it was tier 2 city then.
So
but there was no design, I was not inspired, but I always had the creative streak. Whenever I was in Coimbatore and doing my graduation, I used to always do creative things.
Who was your role model?
In the space of media?
Yeah, I mean, you were, as you said that you were always into doing something creative and everything. So was there any role model that inspired you to be such, or it was just?
As I mentioned to you, my life has been, I think it's just been a journey which has just flowed. I had a lot of, in my family, my mother's side of the family, most of them are either engineers, doctors, architects, and I had an aunt who was heading NID, the National Institute of Design. So I was very well aware of what is happening in the design space. But I didn't have a role model to say, I'm sorry if I'm disappointing you, but at that point in time I was too young, I was just 20.
No, because you mentioned that you were inspired by your mom into this.
Yeah, mom, my mother-in-law, she's a very, very realized soul, and extremely encouraging. She was a professor of sociology and studied from Elphinstone College, and a very, very modern person in terms of thoughts. And of course, she's been a pillar of strength. My husband has always been around to encourage. So, Mommy, of course, has guided me to move towards this. And
Okay,
yeah.
so your journey from 1991 to today, like, you might have faced many challenges. Yes,
Yeah.
Like, how has your family contributed to make you a successful woman or a strong woman that you are today, facing those challenges?
Let me confess, I'm extremely fortunate to have been born in a certain environment and to have been married into a very, very, very supporting kind of an environment. I have had the luxury of, no responsibilities at home. Initially, when I got married, my in-laws and my husband insisted that I have to do my post-graduation. So I did my post-graduation after I got married. In those days, that was kind of extraordinary. And it has been, of course, in the career space, there have been challenges because the kind of background that I hail from, people would say ki isko kya zarurat hai. I remember when I got into the CDC program, there were very limited seats of 12 seats every year. Out of them, 3 are reserved. So the director who had to give me the seat because I got through all the merits, the first thing that he told me and my husband was this, that I hope she will not waste my seat. I hope she's not just doing this to fill her time. So do ensure that she does something after she finishes CDC. Now, the same gentleman who has also been my mentor for my theses and so on and so forth, a gentleman called Dhiren Avasya, today feels very good that one of his own students is trying to do something new and something different. But as far as challenges go, like any working woman would have, making a space in a world which is not inhabited by too many working women, the media space, and that too being based out of Ahmedabad, to carve a niche where the opportunities are limited in media world has always been a challenge. But the same thing has opened us to looking for newer avenues, trying to evolve with new technologies. So I don't look it as a challenge. Every challenge was an opportunity to grow.
Great.
And that's
Very
how we
nice.
have grown. When we started off, I started off as a script writer, as an on-screen presenter and director, so on and so forth. Today, me and my team, we put together not just commercial projects for our clients, but our own content which we publish, and we curate museums now. That has been quite a journey.
Yes, about this, the latest one which has been won award in this Vibrant Gujarat,
Yeah.
from Gandhi to Mahatma.
Yeah.
Can you please highlight something about it?
Yeah, Gandhi to Mahatma is a very special project to all of us. We were invited by the government of Gujarat to put up a very high technology, design a very high technology space and communicate to a larger audience, to the youth, and the message of Gandhiji. So we rose to the occasion, and in about 45 days to 60 days time, we brought in some of the world's most advanced technologies under a single roof. The challenge here was not the technology, but how to develop content so that this technology is relevant. We were not making a showroom to showcase the latest of hardware, the latest of software.
Exactly.
That was not the idea. The whole purpose of this museum was to communicate how Gandhiji, from a simple man, a common man like any one of us, rose to become the Mahatma of the country and the father of the nation. So the whole thing was to take the narrative was about his journey from Gandhi to Mahatma.
So it is using the newest or the latest technology of communication, you know, the lifestyle or the life history of Mahatma Gandhi, so that people can understand better, you know, can grasp some lessons from that.
Yeah, what we intended to do and what we have managed to get across is an amalgamation of the traditional media of communication and the most modern tools, and narrate the story of Gandhiji. We chose the moment when he was thrown out of the train at Pietermaritzburg in South Africa in 1893. And one of my writers, Parth, he developed one simple line, the fall that led to the rise of the fall that led to Gandhiji's ultimate rise. Now, just that statement of 6-7 words just said it all. So our narrative starts in the museum from the day he was pushed out of the train, then all the work that he did in South Africa, including his Indian Revolt, his the fortnightly which he used to publish, the miners, the huge miners movement and the march, more than 2,000 Indian miners, he got them to get together and march and get them to meet the colonials. It was a very oppressed society, you know about it. And you know, to get the South Asians to, you know, have a congregation together and make their voice felt. So all of that we brought it together through simple dioramas and cutout installations and the medium of painting. So there was no technology in that particular section. But then when he got into India, when Gandhiji came into India and he did tremendous amount of work, that's when we used a technology called augmented reality, which is through, you have murals on the wall which are like 2-dimensional, and you use computer generated animations, and these animation, the painting comes, the perception for the viewer is this, that the painting comes alive with animations when you watch it through either the augmented reality glasses or the iPads. So
that's very wonderful.
Yeah, this
and
is
that actually makes it stand out from the other museums.
Yeah, as far as we know, in India there is yet a museum of this kind. It has not yet come up anywhere else in the country, wherein you see augmented reality, you see interactive touch glasses, which are huge glasses. There's no computer in it, and yet it is interactive. Then we showcase 3D holographic installations. We had 3D projection mapping. Through 3D projection mapping, we showcased a film called Freedom Through Bondage. The content was more important to all of us. Of course, the technology that we used was this, that you get the impact of watching a 3D film through glasses without the glasses.
Without the glasses.
Yeah, so you feel the depth of the depth in the screen without the glasses.
Without the glasses,
And the content there was very interesting, and the technology and the content aided to make the experience very beautiful for the visitors. And the content, as I'm mentioning to you, every time Gandhiji went to prison, we as a country moved closer towards freedom, and he spent a lot of his time in India after 1915, almost 40% of his time in the prison. And the kind of, that kind of sacrifice is monumental. Where do you see such things? And the way he managed to get the masses to come together and took our country into a liberated zone through a revolution which was unheard of. In an age of violence, when there were wars happening, the First World War, the Second World War, the whole conflict resolution pattern was just going to war. And there is this great man who is saying, I will let them hit me and I'll offer in my other cheek. That kind of a revolution, and to charge an entire nation to do that. Undoubtedly a huge, he was a boon to us. And it's about time that we
They're very rare.
Yeah, and it's about time that the youth of this country really recognizes the work that he did and the legacy that he left behind. The whole concept of this entire Gandhi to Mahatma is to that the legacy that he left behind for each of us. If we lead our lives on that,
it's a great example for us.
Yes, that as well as his life is a huge example for each of us.
Exactly.
And we have showcased his legacy, which is truth, equality, non-violence, being humble, and he's written tons of literature, tons of letters. Our source of content was his letters, his speeches, of course his autobiography, what others have said about him, what others are still talking about him across the world, the bhajans that he used to hear a lot. So all this was the treasure trove that we dug into.
Yeah,
when we
usually history becomes a very boring subject for today's youth.
Yes.
But when you project it in such a way,
Yeah.
in the modern technology and all that, it's very easy to grasp, learn, as well as digest, and also maybe a good example,
Yeah.
good
You see,
inspiration.
engaging today's youth whose
Yes.
attention span is very limited. Even if you, today, if you see any young child or a teen or a young adult watching television, every probably 15-20 seconds they're flipping channels.
Exactly.
If they're sitting with you, talking like this, if you're talking, 9 out of 10 times they're also looking at their phones to check their Facebook profile and so on and so forth. Their attention span is so limited. So unless you fascinate their eyes and their mind, and you captivate their attention completely, they're not going to listen. If I'm going to force my child to come and see this, he will come. Physically he'll be there, but you're not sure whether he's going to take in everything. So the whole idea of using technology, and using technology simply because it's not simply because it's available. It's also because the crowd that you want to communicate to understands and appreciates that. So why not talk to them in a language that is their own and they can feel connected to? And that is precisely the reason we have been invited here. Ramesh Bhai had called us. He read about whatever we had done in Gandhinagar on Gandhi to Mahatma, and he said, why don't you explore doing something for Dadaji and
Brahma
the
Baba,
legacy that
yes.
he's Brahma Baba, the legacy that he's left behind, Rajyoga and what it all means, the philosophy, how the Brahma Kumari Foundation has moved across the world, how it touches the lives of lakhs of people in more than 137 countries now. That's a huge thing. And of course also talk about what the future is going to be from the Satyug perspective. Now,
So does it fascinate you?
Yeah, it does. It's a huge challenge. Technically it is a challenge. We'll rise to it as a team. It is also a huge responsibility because the kind of expectations that me and my colleague have been noticing yesterday and today are so monumental that I do keep thinking that will we be able to meet those expectations, but somewhere the voice comes in that yes, we will. So
when you talk about this voice comes up, yes, so that's intuition, right? We have seen that the leaders who have been successful in when it comes to taking important decisions, they have been women leaders because of their intuitive ability. What have you to say about this?
Well, I've never observed that all intuitive leaders are women. That's a perspective which I may look into. But as I can only talk about myself, I do feel that I'm graced. We've had an opportunity to work across different projects. I'm not talking about the commercial work, but about the spiritual communication work that we've been doing. First of all, I worked on Pushti Sampradaya, which is a sampradaya on Krishna worship, which the family I was born into, the family I'm married into, they're all Krishna worshippers. I had the good fortune to put together a beautiful encyclopedia in multiple languages, which has yet not been done, the kind that we have developed. Then we had the opportunity to work on Jainism. Again, some very interesting publications. One of my films called Krishna's Playground, which was an experimental film on how Krishna is present everywhere. He's omnipresent, omnipotent. And we shot across all over Vraj, Rajasthan and Gujarat, and short film of about 12 minutes, and it captured people's attention wherever it went. Some international festivals it was invited to and premiered, festivals in India. And the fortune of working on Gandhiji. We have just finished a project where Sachin Tendulkar is associated with us. The country's, who else can ask, what more can you ask for? We worked on Gandhiji, biggest icon of this country, probably the whole world. We are working with Sachin Tendulkar, again a legend in this world. We have worked on a couple of products with Pushti Sampradaya, Jainism. And now we will be doing work with Brahma Kumaris. So
is this the first time that you have visited? Or
I have come earlier, but I don't have a very graphical memory of that trip of mine. That was very early in my career. We made a short film on Rajyoga. So we had visited the center in Abu, not the headquarters here.
Gyan at Mount Abu.
Yeah, and the effort was to put together what is Rajyoga all about. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of that production. It was, as I mentioned, it was very, very early in my career, and not stored most of my work at that point in time.
So when it comes to, when you're talking about, you worked upon this Raj Yoga, and so you might have gone through understanding about its process, even practicing it.
I wouldn't want to make any tall claims. For me, it's important to be a good human being, first of all. To add value to whoever and in whatever ways, whether it is in your relationships at home, as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter, daughter-in-law, as a colleague to all the people I work with. Try and not hurt anyone. That is also a form of leading a good life.
Why not? Living values in your life.
Yeah.
That's spirituality.
Yeah, to me it is. And I would love to do meditation. I do it, but not too regularly. I have, because of my various activities, I cannot get myself to get up early in the morning and do it. So I have my ways and means of doing it in my spare time, which is not the right thing to do. If at all one wants to do Raj Yoga, it has to be a very disciplined approach. Till now, I have not got myself into that space. So,
how do you balance your work and home, being a woman leader, home responsibilities as well as your work responsibilities? How do you do that?
As I told you earlier, I am a very fortunate person. My responsibilities at home are very limited. Everything works on an auto mode. Mom and my husband has ensured that. Of course, I do kind of manage. Somewhere in this whole journey of 15, 20 years that I've been working, I have learned the art of delegation very well. So I delegate. And that's how I manage.
But delegation doesn't mean that free of responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's okay. I mean, responsibility, if you think that everything that you do is your duty, then no. If you think it's a way of life, it won't stress you out.
So it's very important to even know how to delegate, to whom to delegate, so that you are tension free.
Yeah. No, there are tensions which happen. There are lots of stresses. And there are client deadlines. There is this whole bit of adjusting to schedules and expectations at home. expectations of clients, expectations of the colleagues, working colleagues. So one has to learn and to laugh through it. And if you think that you're being weighed down, then what you're doing is not worth it.
Pertaining to this, being a woman leader, I would like to ask you certain questions related to the strength of a woman. I'll put some options before you, and you may just select one of them. The strength of a woman, is it persuasive or aggressive?
It is inspirational.
Yeah, but is it in persuasion or aggressiveness? Just choose
For
one of
me,
these.
it is persuasive.
Persuasive. Is it elastic or brittle?
Stretchable.
Elastic. Yeah. Is it subtle or obvious?
Well, sometimes it is, most of the times it's subtle. But when you want something, it does show across. So it then can become obvious.
So we can summarize to say that the strength of a woman is in her gentleness, in subtlety.
Well, I was just mentioning to someone today, to Nirvan Bhai, whom I met in the morning. He said, "What is your experience here?" I said, "My experience here is there's a lot of femininity in this entire space, of approach, the peacefulness, the harmony. Typically, what would a woman want to do, bring to her home? What is the value addition that she does? Is besides her duty, is to keep a harmonious ambience in her house and ensure that everything is peaceful. There's no stress, there's no looking down or talking down to anybody, but you're talking to each other." So that is the kind of feeling that I got here. There's nobody screaming and talking, which is such a relief. If you look at even people on the roads in any city in India, there's so much of honking and there's so much of noise. There's a breathlessness in the silence that you see here. It's because there's so much of peace.
What is your message to our viewers?
Each one of us is very special. If we were not special, we wouldn't be here. So feel blessed and feel happy in everything that you do, and accept life and work on it as sincerely and as hard as one can, and bliss will come to you, each of us.
Thank you very much, Vandana. It was a nice meeting you and having you here at our Godlywood studio in our series Ek Mulakat, and wish you all the best for your future projects. It is said that rich are those who share their food. Richer are those who share their power. Richer still are those who share their fame. But richest of all are those who share themselves, their ideas, their views, their opinions, their knowledge, their experiences. And we had one of them, the richest of all, Ms. Vandana Raj, with us today. I hope you all have taken valuable lessons from today's episode. Thank you very much. Om Shanti.